Welcome to Ordinary Activists Radio on Hillbrow Radio 24/7. There's a lot happening in our world right now, but today we're going to be focusing on Palestine. In this episode, we're going to look at two very important things. First, we'll be listening to Navi Pillay, the former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, our very own Navi Pillay from South Africa, as she presents the findings of the United Nations Commission of Inquiry into what is happening in Gaza. The Commission has reached a historic and devastating conclusion that Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. After we hear from Navi, we'll also be turning to the seas to a live update from the Global Sumud Flotilla, where activists from 46 countries are sailing to Gaza with aid and solidarity. So that's where we're going today. Gaza, where the crime of crimes is unfolding before our eyes. Of course, we knew it was genocide. The high seas, where ordinary people are going to be trying to break the blockade and open a humanitarian corridor, is also where we will be looking. These two stories connect because while the world's governments hesitate, civil society and international law are speaking with urgency and clarity. Now, about the Commission's report. Navi Pillay made it clear that Israel's campaign since October 2023 has been the most ruthless and prolonged assault on Palestinians since 1948. The Commission outlined that Israel is carrying out 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined under international law. They are, number 1, killing members of the group in whole or in part. Number 2, carrying out serious bodily and mental harm. Number 3, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to destroy the group in whole or in part. And number 4, this one is horrific. I mean, all of them horrific, but this one just, it gets me. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. The Commission went further. They didn't just name the acts, they looked at intent, which is the hardest thing to prove. And they said both the direct statements from Israeli leaders and the patterns of actions leave only one reasonable conclusion. There's genocidal intent. That's a historic finding, and it matters because genocide is not just another crime. It's the gravest of crimes in international law, carrying obligations for the world to act. So let's listen directly now to Navi Pillay presenting the findings.
The Commission concluded that Israel has committed genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza and that it is continuing with that genocide. It is now almost 2 years since Israel launched its military campaign in the Gaza Strip in October 2023. This has been the most ruthless, prolonged, and widespread attack against the Palestinian people since 1948. Every day that passes, the killings and the starvation of the Palestinians continue. The goal of the Israeli government is abundantly clear as we continue to witness the destruction of Palestinians in Gaza. The Commission finds it is genocide. In our report, the Commission found that the Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces committed and are continuing to commit the following underlying acts of genocide against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. 1, killing members of the group. 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. On the specific intent of genocide, the Commission concludes that statements made by Israeli authorities are direct evidence of genocidal intent. The Commission also concludes that the pattern of conduct is circumstantial evidence for genocidal intent, and that genocidal intent was the only reasonable inference that could be drawn from a totality of the evidence. Therefore, the Commission concludes that the Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces have the genocidal intent to destroy, in whole or in part, the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
That was Navi Pillay spelling out in stark terms what Palestinians and many human rights advocates have been saying for months, even years. This is genocide. Notice how careful the Commission was. They worked methodically through the evidence, the killings, the starvation, the destruction of life, the denial of births. They showed that Israel isn't just committing isolated war crimes, it's following a sustained pattern designed to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as a group. And what makes this moment so significant is that the world can no longer hide behind euphemisms. Too often we hear the words like conflict or war or tragedy, but when the UN's own independent commission declares genocide, the language changes. The moral responsibility changes, and the legal obligations change too. The Genocide Convention is clear. States have got a duty to prevent and punish genocide. This means governments cannot simply wring their hands or issue statements of concern. That's why Navi Pillay's words matter so much right now. Every day that passes without accountability is another day, and I feel quite emotional saying this, but it's another day of mass killings, of starvation, of children dying under the rubble. And yet alongside this horror, we also see extraordinary acts of courage and solidarity. So that brings us to our second story today, which is the story about the Global Sumud Flotilla, which is setting sail to Gaza, even as this report has landed. The Global Sumud Flotilla is a people's response, an ordinary activist response, if you like, to the blockade of Gaza. Sumud, it's a very profound word. It means steadfastness. It's the refusal to give up. In a passive sense, it's staying on the land. And in an active sense, it's planting vineyards, it's planting olive trees, it's building institutions. Sumud is resistance, it's steadfastness. And this flotilla embodies that spirit. We are going to be steadfast. We are going to open a humanitarian corridor. We have activists from about 46 countries coming together to deliver aid and to demand this humanitarian corridor be opened into Gaza. Among them are South Africans, including Mandla, the grandson of our great Nelson Mandela. There's Zukiswa Wanner, who we'll hear from shortly. We've spoken to her before on this show. The flotilla hasn't had an easy journey. Already there have been 2 drone strikes in Tunisia targeting the boats. And of course there's been all sorts of Israeli propaganda. Oh, it was flares or whatever. We don't believe Israel anymore. They lie. Everything that gets said, they try to debunk it, they try to reframe it, and they just do this fake stories all the time. Go and have a look at the videos. Go and watch what happened. You'll see very clearly these were drones that were dropped. Some ships, as a result, withdrew. There were also some challenges initially with some of the boats struggling in the rough seas, and so initially a fewer group of ships departed about a week ago. And Zukiswa stayed behind together with a number of South Africans, unsure whether they would be able to go. And they were delayed because of the tax and because of the capacity. And I've been in contact with her, been chatting to her, and she managed to secure a boat and a place on a boat. And now she's on her way to Gaza. I'm so excited. If you watch the footage online, you can see if you're watching online now, instead of just listening, and I encourage you, go and check this out on Ordinary Activist YouTube channel, because you can see this boat and Zukiswa actually talking in this live interview that I did with her last night. And the boat is going at pace. They're carrying aid. They're carrying a message to the world. that the world is not silent, that ordinary people are standing up, that they're rising. This isn't the first flotilla. For years now, international activists have been attempting to sail to Gaza, challenging the blockade, carrying humanitarian supplies. Many have been stopped, some have been attacked, but each voyage has just kept the question alive. When will the world act? Will the world allow Gaza to remain an open-air prison? This year alone, we've had 3 flotillas that have gone. They've all been smaller, and this is the largest yet, and that scale matters. It signals that the movement is growing and not shrinking, and you can hear the excitement in my voice. But what makes this flotilla special is not that it's just aid that it carries, it's the solidarity. These are ordinary people risking their safety to stand with Palestinians and literally risking their safety and their lives. Israel has declared them to be terrorists. And we know when Israel uses that language, they do it for a purpose because they've got intent. These people are coming from every continent. They're 46 countries. And they're reminding us that humanity is not defined by governments or armies, but by ordinary people standing up for one another. So we've had the privilege of speaking to Zukiswa before when she was stuck in Tunisia, grounded by the attacks. And now we're going to speak to her again, and I'm going to put her on in just a moment. This time she's on board the flotilla herself. And for me, this is an incredibly exciting moment. So to hear her voice, to know that she's literally sailing towards Gaza, it gives us hope in the context of despair. So please excuse my excited saying hello to Zukiswa as I introduce this video, but I am excited. Here is Zukiswa Wanner speaking live from the flotilla, from my interview with her last night. She's on her way to free Gaza.
Hi,
Zukiswa! Woo!
How are you?
I'm so proud of you, my friend. I'm so proud of you. Just go. Free Gaza! Free Palestine!
I know, man. I'll tell you a story. Last night, the storm, the waves were so bad. Everybody was out here on this deck, throwing up left, right, and center.
Oh,
and
wow.
you know, the most funniest thing was with everybody laid down. I think 70% of the people, there were only 3 people who were okay. And also, nothing like an icebreaker. Nothing like getting seasick together to have a nice icebreaker.
That's amazing.
Anyway, with everybody outside, right, lying in all grotesque manner and stuff on the deck, the captain comes out and he says, he looks at everybody lying down. I mean, the crew was fine. They're used to it. The captain comes out and he looks and he smiles and he says, everyone, free. and they're like, Palestine.
Oh, you must be so excited to be on the boat, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be here.
Tell us the story of how you got it.
Oh, my dear. I think we've just been waiting. At some point in time, I think I even communicated to you and a few other people that it looks like we're just gonna come home and we'll support from the ground. But yeah, there was still a boat, and we're on it. And it's 2 South Africans, myself and Riaz, Mola, on this boat. So yeah. We hope to catch up with everybody else. I know we're going to meet in the next 24 hours, another boat. We're going to catch up with everybody else, and yeah.
It looks like you're going really fast, eh?
We are. This baby moves, eh? Yeah. And of course, we are, I'm only getting in touch now because we had duties. So I was making dinner, come lunch. Another person made breakfast. and I think Riaz was washing the deck. So, you know, and while I was, before I made breakfast, before I made lunch, dinner, I was, I brought a children's coloring book. So I was coloring and of course also communicating to people at home. I don't know, like, well, you saw it yourself. And we are doing a Global Sumud Flotilla book club with Andrew Brown's, The Bitterness of Olives. So now, today I sent a one-page read of the first chapter. He read the prologue yesterday. And then I think we have Carol Ann Davids, C.A. Davids, doing the next chapter. And then essentially, anybody who wants to take part, it's just one page. If you splice 2 videos, it's about 1 minute each for one page. And then the rest of us read with you. And then we can discuss that particular chapter and whatever. But I figured it's an easy way to get people to read without making it seem like a burden. So I want your listeners to go to their nearest bookstore if they haven't yet and get Andrew Brown's The Bitterness of Olives. It's set in Gaza, so it's very relevant and written by a South African.
And is that reading happening on your Instagram page?
Huh?
The reading of the book, is it on your Instagram page?
The reading is happening. So what we're doing is we're doing a chapter a day, and you can see it on my Instagram page, but also on the Instagram page of Global
Sumud Flotilla
Sumud for South Africa, RSA, and I think I also tagged Africa for Palestine as a collaborator. And of course, Caravan Press, because it's published by Caravan Press in South Africa. So, yeah.
Zukiswa, can you take us around the boat a bit and show us the boat?
The boat is, I actually can't show you around because it's a security risk.
Okay,
but you
no
can see the
problem,
South African flag there.
The South African flag is on its way to free Palestine!
Yeah. And there's the Palestinian flag there.
Oh, wow.
So that's the most I can show you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Otherwise, it's a security risk to show more.
And so you're joining the rest of the fleet. How many boats are going in total? Do you know? Are you able to tell us?
Huh?
How many boats are going there in total?
Oh, yeah. They are. The last I checked on the tracker, and please, guys, can you just get on the tracker as well so that you can track the boats and ensure that there isn't any inception of them or interruption. The last I checked on the tracker, there were 50.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Absolutely. I think it's fantastic. And it has also been really, really great to get support from at least, I think it was 16 governments, South Africa being one of the governments, and saying that if anything happens to people in this flotilla, you know. But I think even more crazy is I've been getting messages from people from Gaza, you know, with a lot of hope and asking, you know, saying they're looking forward and doing this skit of welcome. And it's heartbreaking because, you know, I think the hope that they have and the hope that we all have that, you know, this genocide that we're watching in real time really just stops so that the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine can rebuild their lives, but also, equally important, so that we can hold to account those who've been responsible for this, you know, and some of them are our own citizens.
Yeah. Did you see the news yesterday coming out of the United Nations Human Rights Council with Judge Navi Pillay?
Yes, I did, absolutely. I saw, the way I was going to answer that question is I was going to be cheeky and say, where did you expect me to see the news? I was busy throwing up. But I actually saw that, so that was exciting, and I'm glad that everybody sees that. But, you know, it's not enough for us to see that. I mean, we've known this for like 2 years, you know. It's not enough to see that. There is more that's required, and the more that's required is Governments need to ensure that they put a stop to it. They need to ensure that they stop trade with Israel. You know, they need to make sure that Israel is a pariah state. You know, otherwise we're going nowhere. Also, I'm wearing a Twintio shirt, a fraternal Twintio shirt in the background.
Wow. It says rise and resist. Mandla!
Indeed.
Oh, I'm so excited to be talking to you. And tell me how you're feeling about how far are you from Palestine? Are you able to tell us where you are, or we can obviously track you on the flotilla? How many days until you get to Palestine to Gaza?
Well, they predict about 8 days, but it could be 10 days, you know. I mean, obviously,
so we're talking next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, next week that you'll arrive.
So hopefully we make it. I'm keeping fingers crossed that we do. And I think that's like assuming anything else is not an option. My only option right now is that we're gonna get there. You know, I'm not thinking about interceptions. I don't want to think about interceptions. I don't want to think about anything. Because this is something done by civilians. It's peaceful, it's humanitarian, and it's protected by the law, by international law.
Absolutely.
So I hope whoever is watching and stuff understands that.
Yes.
And shows that you know, we know that they don't know how to uphold the law, but we hope that they uphold the law in this one time, so that they can also like seem like they have a bit of morality still remaining. You understand?
Yeah.
Because we've been watching people starve, we've been watching people bombed. It's not okay.
Of course, today is the 18th of September, and the United Nations is meeting today, and there's the General Assembly meeting, and we're still waiting.
At this point in time, it's very imperative that all the countries just say no, first of all, and then if possible, I don't know. I think there is the only. I'm not a person who believes in military, but I think this one time, this is where the government of the world actually need to gather their militaries and do something to assist the people of Gaza. You know, we can't do this anymore. We can't watch this. We are doing the peaceful humanitarian stuff. They need to do the tough military stuff, you know?
Even if it's just sending in a peacekeeping force. I mean, that's what this United for Peace resolution is supposed to be about, getting a peacekeeping force. But that's going to be tough, eh? It seems that we're going to have to follow the news. We're going to have to continue to lobby. I see that Belgium is looking at putting in 12 sanctions. That's what they're proposing to the UN. There's a couple of other countries that have got different proposals coming out.
Some countries that are doing different things. Yes, that's very admirable.
Yeah. And what can we be doing at this moment as ordinary South Africans to support you and to support Gaza? Just keep telling us what to do.
I think, as I mentioned before, you know, I think Mills SA is doing some food, and also the gift of the givers as usual. So if we do manage to when we open the humanitarian corridor, I think Gift of the Givers is one of those organizations that are going to make it there. So if people could just like give some contributions to them, and then they can buy what they need. Demand of the government that they stop coal going to Israel. We can't be lighting up a genocide, and that they prosecute any permanent residents of South Africa and citizens of South Africa who have been complicit in this genocide, who have served in the IOM.
Yeah, we're going to be motivating for that. We've got protests planned. We've got engagements planned. We're acting on our side and we're mobilizing. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And just know that our hearts
Thank you so much. And
are with your hearts. We are with you, my friend. You're not alone. You are carrying our dreams. You're carrying our hopes. Comrades.
In the Global Sumud Flotilla book club and buy The Bitterness of Olives. Let's read together. as we journey. Bye,
We
South
love you.
Africa.
We love you. Send our love to everybody. Tell them that you're in our hearts. We love you. We
Abs-
love you. We love you. We send you love and solidarity and strength. Amen.
Thank you,
Go
Dad.
well.
Avadla.
Where to? Get the land back. Wow. That was amazing to interview Zukiswa Wanner on board the Global Sumud Flotilla. I think all of us can just say to her, thank you, thank you, thank you for her courage. Thank you for her humor. Thank you for reminding us that even on the high seas, with people seasick and throwing up, there can be joy and laughter in solidarity. Her story about the captain looking at everyone lying on the deck, vomiting and shouting, free, free Palestine, and her response, Palestine, it's powerful. It reminds us that, even in the hardest conditions, the human spirit keeps rising, and may it keep rising in us all. And yet her presence on that boat with South Africans like Riaz and Mandla on another boat, and with people from 46 different countries, it tells us that something very serious, civil society, ordinary people, ordinary activists are stepping into a space that governments have failed to fill. She and her companions are ordinary civilians, but they carry extraordinary responsibility, food, hope, demands for a humanitarian corridor into Gaza. So let's come back to the context. Why are these boats sailing? Well, it's because Gaza is starving. It's because there's a genocide. We know that the IPC, which is the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, has now confirmed famine conditions in northern Gaza and projected famine across the south unless something dramatically changes. The World Health Organization and the UN's Humanitarian Office have said it over and over again that starvation is being used as a weapon of war. This isn't hyperbole. This is technical, measured, data-based declarations. Malnutrition levels, mortality, food access have crossed famine thresholds. And famine's not this is not a natural disaster. This is a policy choice. It's a consequence of siege and of bombardment. Israel is doing this. This isn't a natural thing. This is intentional. It's an act of genocide. And this is the exact reality that Navi Pillay addressed when she presented her findings in the United Nations Commission of Inquiry. The Commission basically concluded that Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people, Gaza, and is continuing with that genocide. This is in line with the findings of Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, the International Court of Justice, which found that it is plausible. All the other scholars, all the other international organizations, they've all said it. Israel is committing genocide. And first, they're killing members of the group. Second, they're causing serious bodily or mental harm. Third, they're inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about physical destruction. And fourth, they're imposing measures intended to prevent births. 4 out of the 5 recognized acts in the Genocide Convention are present. And then they looked at intent. They examined statements from Israeli leaders, statements about wiping out Gaza, declaring Gazans inhuman. We've heard many of the statements from Israelis' top leaders about starving people, about cutting off electricity and water. And they've not only made the statements, they've followed the same patterns of destruction. Their conclusions are unambiguous. Genocidal intent is both directly evidenced in words and circumstantially evidenced in actions. And the only reasonable inference from all the evidence is that it's genocide. That word, genocide, it changes everything. And we know that people have been saying it for months, even since February, when the International Court of Justice said it was plausible. It's not just another word for tragedy, it's the crime of crimes in international law. When the UN says genocide, states and state parties to the Genocide Convention are bound to prevent and punish it. They can't simply look away or hide behind diplomatic niceties. There's a legal duty to act. And yet, just last night, the United Nations Security Council was presented with a resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, the lifting of restrictions of aid, and the release of all hostages, the release of all captives. And 14 member states voted in favor, and 1 member vetoed it. The United States of America cast its 6th veto vote on Gaza since the genocide has begun. And once again, the will of the world is being blocked by a single government. Once again, the machinery of international peace and security is being paralyzed by the United States of America. But there's another path back, and I want to just talk briefly about that. Back in 1950, when the UN adopted what is known as the Uniting for Peace Resolution, it says that if the Security Council fails to act because of a veto, the General Assembly can step in. Within 24 hours, it can convene an emergency session and recommend collective measures. So these measures can include peacekeeping, sanctions, other steps consistent with the UN Charter. They're not binding in the same way as the Council resolutions, but they carry enormous legitimacy. They've been used before on Korea, in the Suez Canal, on apartheid South Africa, and they can be used again. So that's why Navi Pillay's words matter and why the flotilla matters. This flotilla is, again, just a mirror being held up to the world. So today we are hoping that the UN General Assembly will meet, and this mirror will be held up to them. And even if the world fails to do it, we still just want to say to all of those on the flotilla, thank you for saying that if governments cannot or will not act, that ordinary people will. I'm amazed as I think of this all, that this flotilla is not small. Organizers say it's the largest ever, more than 50 boats representing 46 countries. They've already faced danger. Earlier this month, we know that in Tunisian waters that they were struck. They were struck while carrying a UK flag and a Portuguese flag on the boat, so essentially attacks on sovereign nations. And I'm just so proud of our South African teams and the South Africans who are just refusing to give up. And now they're on another boat. What is also exciting and encouraging is how other governments have begun to step in. On the 16th of September, which is also just 3 days ago, the South African Department of International Relations and Cooperation released a joint statement with ministers from Bangladesh. I'm going to list these countries. It's 16 countries. Bangladesh, Brazil, Colombia, Indonesia, Ireland, Libya, Malaysia, Maldives, Mexico, Pakistan, Qatar, Oman, Slovenia, Spain, Turkey, and South Africa. So these governments expressed concern about the security of the flotilla, saying it's a civil society initiative in which their citizens are participating. They affirmed the objectives that it's delivering humanitarian aid and stopping the war. They called on all actors to refrain from unlawful or violent actions against the flotilla and to respect international humanitarian law. We talked just a few weeks ago to Joe Bluin, who is on the Shireen, which is the legal support boat. And she outlined for us that to stop them from delivering aid is not only a violation of the International Court of Justice orders, which said that Israel must allow aid to come in, and they cannot stop the aid, but it's also stopping the ships in international waters is an act of piracy. It's against international law. They must allow the ships to go in. So I'm grateful that our governments have warned against any attack on these vessels. We've also got dock workers who've warned against attacks and said that they will shut down Europe if this happens. If there's any illegal detention, we need to keep our eyes fixed on the flotilla so that we can ensure accountability. This all means that the flotilla is not sailing alone. It's sailing with us, ordinary citizens. And we're the ones that need to be watching. We're the ones who need to be using our voices and making sure that it's not invisible. In the same way, we're making sure that what is happening in Gaza is not invisible. When I've spoken to flotilla people, they said, keep your eyes on the flotilla, but most importantly, keep your eyes on Gaza. We know there's an internet blackout now happening in Gaza, and we need to be making sure that we're just amplifying, escalating, as the global movement is now saying. We must watch. These boats aren't just carrying food and medicine, they're carrying our hopes. They're carrying a test for the international system. Will the world respect the rights of civilians to deliver humanitarian aid to starving people? Will it allow the violence to block even the most basic acts of humanity? So friends, I want us to sit with this connection here. Navi Pillay says it's genocide. The famine evidence says starvation as a weapon. The Security Council is paralyzed, and the flotilla sails. It's all one piece. And we need to keep our eyes on the horror in Gaza. We can despair, but if we keep our eyes on the sea, we can see the courage. We can see that people are not giving up. So what can we do? I think the call is for all of us to keep our eyes on Gaza, keep Gaza visible, share the Commission's findings, talk about the famine as a crime, not as a natural disaster, push back against propaganda that tries to muddy the waters. Secondly, follow the flotilla. She's mentioned the tracker. Share the updates. Go onto all of their social medias. Amplify their social media. We're seeing a lot of blackouts of Palestinian activists. We've got to just intentionally go and find them and share them. Visibility matters. It can deter attacks and it can ensure aid gets to Gaza. And third, we need to be supporting credible humanitarian organizations who are ready to deliver if a corridor opens. Zukiswa specifically mentioned Gift of the Givers here in South Africa, who've always stepped up. So find out their details, start giving money into that. Fourth, let's organize, let's join solidarity movements where you are, in churches, in unions, in schools, in neighborhoods. I'm part of the Kensington Palestine Solidarity Group. I'm part of South African Christians for Palestine. I'm working with South African Jews for Palestine. I'm working with BDS. I'm working with the PSA, the PSO, all the different Palestinian solidarity organizations that I can find. I'm trying to say, how do we amplify each other's work? If you're in Johannesburg, in Rosebank on Friday afternoons, join the protest opposite McDonald's in Rosebank. Protest, write letters, hold vigils, create community spaces of resistance. And fifth, demand that our governments and others meet their legal obligations. We need to end trade in South Africa. We need to end the trade with Israel, especially the coal. Especially the coal. Let me say that again, especially the coal. We're supplying about 17% of Israel's coal flowing through Richards Bay. We need to prosecute citizens who, as Zukiswa said, who participate in foreign militaries. We have to prosecute all of those serving in the IOF in our country. We need to also be boycotting, divesting, and sanctions wherever we can. And we need to be pushing for action with the General Assembly. Zukiswa said it very clearly. This is civilian, it's peaceful, it's humanitarian, and it's protected by international law. When the Security Council fails, when famine stalks children, when genocide is declared, then civil society and international law must join hands. That's the truth. That's the hope. Gaza is bleeding. Gaza is starving. But the world is not silent. Navi Pillay has spoken. The flotilla is sailing. And you and I have a choice to turn away or to act. Thanks for listening again to another show, another episode of Ordinary Activist Radio on Hillbrow Radio 24/7. Remember to WhatsApp us if you've got any messages, any thoughts. Our cell phone number is 074 555 774. And we'll get in touch with you if you have any thoughts. If you want to join in Palestinian solidarity movements, message us at that number and we can put you in touch with some people. And I just want to say thank you to every single person who has listened to this show and who is an ordinary activist. We'll see you next week on Ordinary Activist Radio from 1 to 2. Thank you for listening.
You gotta make a choice, better be on the right side of history.